Remember when PC building was a bit simpler and you only had to plug in one cable from a fan instead of two or sometimes even three? That's thanks to RGB, and this video is dedicated to a build that will have none of that. Stay with me. Activating Windows is as simple as hopping on over to SCDKey's VIP site, where you can purchase an OEM Pro key for a little over $10 US. Use a secure payment method like PayPal, receive your key in a matter of seconds, and activate your OS here to remove that annoying watermark. Click the link below to get started and use my offer code GSL for a sweet discount. So to start things off, this is the Intel Core i9-10900K. I know you probably can't see that from way back there, but this chip is my chip of choice for video editing in Premiere Pro, and I've talked about that in a dedicated video if you're interested. We've gone with the Intel 660p. This actually has pretty much all of my editing stuff on it, so I kind of need that. I will probably add a 1TB hard drive at some point, although I do have a NAS I'll be setting up soon as well. This is a 16 gig kit, 4x4 from Corsair Don Platts. They're pretty tried and true. They look sexy. 16 gigs is a little on the short side for a video editing rig, but I've used it plenty in the past, and I love the way these look, especially in a non-RGB rig. Gonna fit nicely with these custom cable extensions here. The graphics card, I'm going with the GeForce RTX 2080 Super from EVGA. I know what you're thinking. Why would you go with this if Ampere is right around the corner? Well, it's kind of a placeholder for one, but you can find pretty sweet deals on eBay for some used RTX 2080s, 2080 Supers, 2080 Ti's even. I don't recommend paying more than about $400 for a 2080 Super in 2020, especially 2021. But yeah, nonetheless, if you want to check out used stuff, I do have a link down below for some used RTX graphics cards. Then we have the N7 Z490, N7, is that how I just, N7 Z490 from NZXT. This board is kind of like the next step, right? The next logical step in the N7 series. They had the Z390 board, the Z370 board, and now they have the Z490 board. And this is going to give us a super clean, all black aesthetic. I know the picture is a white shroud there for the motherboard, but it's actually all black. And that's gonna look super sweet in our case, which I'll get to in a second. Last up, the C750 ATX power supply. We're gonna use the extensions, so I'm not really worried about the included cables there, but it's a tried and true power supply, and it's gonna be very quiet under load. We've tested that. Now, you're probably wondering what the heck this is, and I don't blame you, because it does look a bit strange. I've got something to say about this. Wow, my hair is totally whacked out. This right here is a Fractal Design Define 7 Compact. Define 7C, it's what it stood for. Look, I'm impatient. I didn't want to wait for whatever Meshify version of the Define 7 Compact Fractal Design is likely to release at some point, maybe in 2021. I sent this front panel over to my good friends over at Mod My Mods, and they etched this beautiful design that actually matches the optional top panel as well in the Define 7 Compact. This looks literally stock. I am blown away by how well this, just how great this turned out overall, both aesthetically and functionally, which we'll get to later on in the video. They even gave me an included dust filter. They built one in. It literally looks like this is how the case should have come from the factory, had it been the Meshify version to begin with. And we still have the grills on the sides that are gonna allow some air to enter as well. But anyway, we're gonna cut to a quick interview with them, and they're gonna talk about how they cut this thing in their shop.
What's going on, guys? I am Kevin from Mod My Mods, and thanks for having me on, Greg. I really appreciate it. We are actually based out of Rochester, New York, which is actually upstate New York, not the city. A lot of people get that confused, but we're actually about an hour east of Niagara Falls. So if you guys are in the area, we'd be happy to show you around and show you what we do. So we're kind of like your one-stop shop for anything when it comes to modifying, accessorizing, or making your computer pretty much is what it comes down to. We're like the pimp my ride of computers per se. Painting, vinyl work, powder coating, Cerakoting, custom CNC, engraving, that type of stuff. That's kind of what we pride ourselves on and enjoy doing. Yours truly, myself, took it and took that, honestly, that crap photo you gave me, and I not straight, not square, not skewed or anything. He's holding it in his hand, but what I did is I took that pattern and I cut it all out, made sure that the ideal shapes were kind of, the shapes that we were trying to obtain were somewhat visible. So what I did is I made most of the pattern work in Illustrator.
That was the next thing I wanted to ask about was how specifically you cut it. So you said it was a CNC machine, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. We kind of have a relatively large CNC machine. It's very over the top for kind of what we used it for to cut yours. It's a 28 1,000 RPM spindle that's been custom built by our code monkey, Josh. And he basically built it from the ground up just by getting all the parts and the pieces together. But it's a fully water-cooled CNC machine that we used. I think it was a 64th size bit to cut out your particular pattern there. We're doing the Fantex panels, the Elites, the Evolves, MATX, and then we're also doing, Be Quiet stuff. We've done the 80, what is that? The 801.
Yep.
Yeah, the 801 and the 900, the dark base. To be honest with you, the biggest problem that we had with your panel was that the front has sound dampening on it, which is great, but unfortunately, in order to cut it, you can't just cut through that. You have to actually take all of that off. So that's kind of like a 45-minute process of getting all of that sound dampening off, then fastening it to the actual, the jig that we have, and then having it cut. So,
Got it.
It does take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it once you get it dialed in.
Do you guys have a way of like measuring how hot that bit gets, and like how often do you have to like splash it with? I assume it's like water or some other water-based lubricant?
It depends on what the material is and how fast the bit is actually moving and how quickly it's going to remove the material, right? Because that material is heating up. And then it has to be thrown, in some sort of direction. But if it gets too hot, then what happens is it kind of just melts together. So a lot of the time when you see it kind of doing like its little scrape action, it's a method of cutting. To be honest with you, I'm not the CNC operator. I wish I knew a little bit more about it. But there is a specific term for what that is, the way that he's doing those cuts. That's how we actually do all of our cuts, is just taking a little out each way, each time, doing it in a circle type pass, which overall keeps the temperatures relatively cool. But it also isn't like straining the metal as we're cutting.
So what I did was I took temperature readings prior to sending you the panel that I did, just because I wasn't sure if masking it off with aluminum foil, whatever, would have been a fair representation. Beforehand, temperatures in the CPU after the fluid had totally heated up and saturated. CPU temperatures, I think at the hottest core, were 84 degrees, and that was with a 10900K. It's running at stock, I think, with MCE enabled. And then the exact same settings, nothing changed. Putting on the front panel that you guys etched out for me, lowered temperatures by I think 5 degrees. And then if I remove the mesh that you guys put up front, the dust filter there, because that tends to be a little restrictive, that actually opened things up by another 2 to 3 degrees. I think the hottest core dropped by another 3. So all in all, just by opening that up there, giving it a streamlined ventilation, close to 10 degrees Celsius drop. For an Intel chip, I'll take that any day of the week, because those things run super toasty nowadays.
Oh yeah. I understand. I'm actually currently working on it's a Fantex Evolve, one of the first versions of that case. And I mean, we ended up doing, that's why we have an option called the Big Gaper, because it's just one big hole, which is great though, because there's no ventilation in this case whatsoever. And running a 7980 XE is like, it's unbelievable how hot those things get. So I'm glad that we were able to help, and I'm glad you like it.
So again, big thanks to the guys over at Mod My Mods for hooking us up with that super sexy front panel there. Again, it looks stock, it looks so good. I actually probably should have put the front panel on that had the cuts to begin with, so you could see how good they look side by side, but it's almost identical. So really great job over there. And they kind of did this from scratch. They didn't have any blueprints or anything. They just said, hey, if you can kind of copy this, that'd be great. It's pretty crazy what they did. Anyway, we're going to assemble the system now and see what it looks like. I'm curious. This is probably gonna be one of my cleaner builds. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm gonna be a PC janitor today. Wow. Wow. Look at how sexy this board is. This is incredible. Actually, fun fact, pretty sure this is an ASRock derived board, more of a name brand household motherboard name in North America at least, that they're going with this time around, which I think is nice. Power delivery looks pretty beefy. We'll be able to test the overclocking potential of this board at some point, but aesthetically, whew, they hit the nail on the head with this one. All right, let's go ahead and get the CPU in here. Drop her right in. you'd be a little less aggressive than I'm being right now. And there we go. By the way, it is popping off outside. There's a pretty bad thunderstorm approaching, it sounds like. So if you hear some weird rumbling in the background, that is totally not me. And I've got one more to do. Pro tip, if you guys don't like the stickers on the modules for whatever reason, maybe you're super picky aesthetically, that's fine, it's your right. You can peel off the sticker of the innermost dim. Sometimes when you pull these stickers off, you can void your warranty. At least that's what it says on the box anyway. So if you're scared at all about that, just pull it off of the innermost module. And yeah, the chances of this specific module here going down, you know, pretty low compared to any one of the four. Next up, we've got to install the M.2 drive, and the way to do that on this board here, just pop up this little cover, and there you go, you have access to the slot right there. All right, so the platform is finished. Now let's get it in the case. Wow, this motherboard is the hide and seek champ in 2020. Look how clean it looks. It just blends in with the case so well. All right, the motherboard's secured. Let's go ahead and stand it upright so you can look into it. Check that out. That looks so good. I love this minimalistic design here. Like, even if this isn't the best board for like power delivery, I don't expect it to be trash. I highly doubt that would have passed in ZXT's QC standards, but you know, I'm okay with it being okay in the overclocking department, just for the sake of having a board that looks this good. I mean, once it does enough for me, I'm usually not too picky. I'm not a hardcore overclocker or anything like that. This particular chip hasn't been very well, so it runs hot by default. But anyway, that's a really good look. Also, this table, Jesus. So I think the build actually turned out quite nicely. I hope you guys enjoyed the process. I hope you enjoyed the kind of behind the scenes look at how Mod My Mods created the front panel. I know things are kind of blocked by this microphone arm, kind of a poor choice of camera position now that I'm actually looking at it in playback. But anyway, I'll show you some B-roll here as we're going through. I really like the color aesthetic. I like the motherboard, the way that it blends with the ASUS card. I'm glad I switched to the Strix 2080. If you're wondering why I chose a 2080 instead of something like a 3080, it's because as of time of filming, the only 3080 I have here is the Founders Edition 3080, and I freaking hate the way that that 12-pin adapter looks. And any custom sleeve 12-pin adapter isn't gonna match the custom extensions I have in here, and I like this red theme. The Z73 AIO, I didn't mention that in the beginning of the video, but I'm really glad I went with this because I just love customizing that screen right over the pump there in the center. And yeah, I think just everything blends really well. For what I do, and this system actually is going to be my editing rig for the foreseeable future, this is plenty. I don't need the best, even though I get sent a lot of stuff for free. I don't need to be rocking the most expensive stuff. I don't need a 3970X or 3990X. I don't even need a 10900 or 10980 XE. God, too many numbers. I have a 10980 XE back there, which is a much more expensive processor than the 10900K. But I love the IGP in the 10900K. I love seeing that work in tandem with the 2080 and the CPU cores when I'm rendering in Premiere Pro. I have a video talking about that. If you haven't seen it already, you can check it out somewhere up there. But it's a really nice build. I like the aesthetic a lot. It can kind of toggle the graphics card RGB on and off. It should still be off. I'm not sure why it turned back on. But yeah, if you want to build something just like this, I have all these parts linked down below. I will also link Mod My Mod's webpage as well. If you're interested in having something kind of custom made for you, for your case, be sure to hit them up. They have awesome work. I mean, you can see the proof is in the pudding. This looks frickin' stock. It looks so good. If you guys like this video, thumbs up, leave a comment down below, consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one. My name is Greg. Thanks for learning with me.